Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Villa Park podcast. This week, we're back with Talking Tactics. It's me, Kev. As always, we've got our main man, football analyst, Gareth. Gareth, how you doing, mate?
I'm very well. Kind of settled down a little bit now.
I'm still really annoyed. I'm only wearing this top because I'm playing football later and I've got to wear yellows. Otherwise, I wouldn't be so proud of wearing a Villa top at the moment. Slightly tongue-in-cheek. I did say on our reaction pod last night, if anyone hasn't caught it, that it's quite nice to be doing, even though I would rather we hadn't lost, that we obviously did last week's Burnley victory. Brilliant news. Loads to talk about what worked well. And then the kind of putting that side to side with then a bad defeat away from home. So I think it'd be good to go for and pick the bones of that, won't it, really?
Yeah, I think, especially from an analysis point of view and a head coach's point of view, we learn more from losses than we do a lot of the time from wins, unfortunately, because of the defensive aspect away, especially being away from home. And we can then compare differences to at home performances against the big sides to away performances against the big sides. But yeah, really disappointing, really, to be honest. Thought we made much more of a fist. Just be more organised more than anything, which is disappointing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just as always at the start, please, if you give the video a like, we are really pushing towards our subscribers towards 2,500. So if you're not already subscribed, please, if you can consider doing that, it'd be great. And of course, if you want to be a member, click the link. There's quite a few people now that have joined the channel as members. Helps us do pods as good as this. So yeah, we really appreciate all the support as always, through the thick and the thin. So talking of the thin, Gareth, let's dive into it, mate. First one of our images is the passing network. So, yeah, just talk us through this one.
Yeah, a poor version of what we saw against Burnley in many aspects. If we were to, people want to go back and have a look at them, you will see that this is pretty similar. And, it's one of them sort of situations where we don't have a great deal of the ball, but when we did have the ball, we kind of just knocked it around at the back a little bit and were very, very safe and tried to sort of just potentially keep the ball because we didn't see a great deal of it. But again, yeah, not much to see really. Dina again with our highest expected threat on sort of in play and everything. And it just wasn't enough, was it?
No, it really wasn't enough. And again, there's a repeat offender there, isn't there, in terms of the last, obviously, game we played where we did win, but Watkins is, again, very, very quiet. We discussed this on the pod last night. There was a few comments coming in. Obviously, his form was 1-11, I think, in the league. How much do you think is the service, and how much do you think is him?
I think a lot of it is service. I've got to say that I don't think we don't seem to be creating as well as what we used to. I mean, it's easy for us to say we don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction. It's away at Liverpool. We got battered, and then we went the previous week. We should be winning games against Burnley away from home, by the way. People can take away that that's a victory, but Emery will know that they should be winning games like that. It's when we come to these sorts of games, can we compete? And when it comes to Watkins, he wasn't the only one. Diaby did absolutely nothing. It's off of the ball as well. We're looking for on the ball as well as off of the ball. And me and Rich, when we normally do these shows, have said a lot of the times that we still need an out-and-out goal scorer. And even though Watkins is a good centre forward, but is he an out-and-out goal scorer? Will he get us 20-odd goals a season? I don't think he will.
No, I think in a team creating a lot of chances, I think he could get 20 goals in all competitions if we had a run in the cups.
Yeah.
Because you do say that sometimes, and actually I think it does kind of, I don't think people always compare the two. So if you have a player like, say, Watkins last season where there was basically no cup runs, getting 15, was it? And then you think of a player, another club, it scored 26, but actually they got 6 in the Conference League and 3 in the FA Cup. It actually makes it look better than they are, doesn't it? So, but yeah. I agree. I think that he's very much a purple patch striker. And I think we had a lot of chat last night about, obviously, look what happened at the weekend. Archer basically scores 2 goals pretty much in Sheffield United's first points of the season. Shows a hunger, obviously, and a real striker's instinct, but also created 2 things, really. The second, the goal was out of nothing, really. Great finish for the first. Not the kind of things that you really see Watkins doing. And, are you surprised... After we sold Ings, a lot of people thought we were going to bring on the striker in, right? It didn't happen. Yet it didn't affect us because Watkins went on a purple patch. You couldn't legislate for that really with what happened before, so it worked out quite fortuitously. After we sold Archer, and of course also let other attacking options go, Did you feel we'd bring another striker in? And do you think, second part of the question, that we'll regret not doing that?
Well, again, I go back to what I said with Rich and that we banged on about it. I banged this drum for, most of the transfer window, saying that Watkins will not be that striker that we need. As much as he is a good striker, he is not that striker. You still need somebody else coming in, whether that would be a hold-up man, whether that would be a man in behind. I don't know so much. It doesn't really look like Diaby's going to be that man at the moment, does it? So I don't think Watkins. The thing is, what I've got with Watkins is he knows that is his place to lose almost. There's no one else. Now Archer has gone. Who is there to really challenge him in that position apart from Kellerman, which you could argue that's not probably going to happen. So Watkins is going to play a lot of games, and as is Diaby by the looks of it. So unless they can get someone in on a free, I just don't know. I don't know where we're going to get all these goals from, because I think when you go back to with Cameron Archer, he's playing in a very different system at Sheffield United, where there'll be a lot of chances created from out wide. He's got a little bit more pace in behind than what Watkins has. It's a bit of a different shape and a bit of a different system. So, yeah and no. I don't think we will regret signing him, but it depends if anyone else does come in that would be a better choice.
Yeah, and I think also, the one thing I think has been a concern for me with Watkins has been, I think his touch has been really off. I think he's not holding the ball up like he does. Well, I think when he's confident,
but it's not as if he hasn't had the chances. We've seen him miss quite a few decent chances, haven't we? So I'm going to have a look at that, a little bit more look at that, and maybe we could have a look at another pod in the transfer in the window in between the England games, see what's going on. But I think really he has missed a fair few chances that have been put in front of him. Last week at Burnley there was one, wasn't there, that was a blazing miss, and so he's got to really make it count. But there's no pressure on him, it seems, squad-wise, to have to do that.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt you when you beat these teams that you should be beating. Now, look, as an aside, these are the kind of games that Villa weren't winning in the past, but we're a different proposition. We're a European qualifying team now with a very high-caliber, highly sought-after squad with some real top players in, so you can't really compare it to the Dean Smith era of, we maybe would lose to a Burnley or Everton. And I think that's a fair point we have to make. But if you think about all of those games so far, you mentioned obviously the Burnley one. There was a really good chance to make it, I think, 2-2. It would have been against Newcastle, where he didn't even test the keeper. It wasn't the easiest of chances, but you'd think a top-quality striker should be confidently hitting one of the corners there. And of course, there's been other chances where, I think the Liverpool game, I'd like to see this back, and maybe you could put this in your analysis. But when there was great work, wasn't it, by Louise? Digne gets a great cross in, and then Bailey and Watkins get in each other's way. Should Watkins be demanding he gets out of the way there when he sees it coming?
Yeah, of course he should. Of course he should. But I think I'm always very hesitant. It's a squad game, and I'm always very hesitant to sort of pin it just on that one centre forward. I haven't seen enough from Moussa Diaby. I haven't seen enough from Leon Bailey. I haven't seen enough from sort of McGinn backing up with goals. We've seen the odd sort of thing, but it's a squad game. And I think what you're pointing towards really is that we expect more now because of the way we've been performing and the level of the European qualification. We and Emery expect more from this whole squad in total to hit these heights a little bit better. Last year I think we got a draw at Anfield, didn't we? When we played really well, it looked like we were organised. We stopped Trent sort of playing quite well, and it just looked like we were so passive. Was the word I would use.
I wouldn't say under Emery we've had two worse defeats than the Newcastle and Liverpool ones this season, because I think the Leicester one last season was individual errors. And we were in that game, really. I know obviously then we lost to Man City and Arsenal close to that. But really, in terms of bad defeats, and that's the thing, in it, it's the manner of the defeat. And I think you make a really good point. I think Diaby's shown signs of quality and class and seems like he's an upgrade on Bailey. McGinn's playing generally a higher role and had a good chance at the weekend and hit the keeper, but was also fairly quiet in both that Newcastle and obviously Liverpool game. And I think if you look back at the obviously at the passing networks, you can see McGinn's not too big there. You mentioned Bailey. Look at that right hand side with Cash and Bailey. Again, sounds like a ITV crime fighting duo, but Bailey's out almost anonymous there, isn't it? And obviously he got hooked. 40 odd minutes after he came on.
It tells you everything. You've seen, it's a cliche, is that you don't want to be, a sub does not want to be subbed. I don't need to say any more than that, I don't think.
Yeah, I think I was surprised to even see him come on. And I thought it was a bold move, but whether he was the right guy. But listen, let's move on to onto the next one. So we've got obviously the timeline here. So Gareth, again, just talk us through this one.
Yeah, obviously understat don't give us they don't, so when you plot in understat data, they don't sort of plot the own goals, so that's not on here. So obviously take that into account wherever you may wish to take it into account. But yeah, we can see sort of all these shots that are sort of turning up sort of in the first half, especially where we were pretty much battered, and the second half obviously wasn't that much better. But look how little we created away from home as well. Now I know it's Anfield and everything else, but I still, as much as I go through these analysis, I feel the same as I did when I was doing it all earlier. I'm still quite shocked at how poor it was, really.
Yeah, and actually Liverpool didn't need to do much in the second half. So it's actually, it almost feels a bit like, that Hibernian game where we won 3-0 at home, that basically they were the Villa and we were the Hibernian at the weekend because they didn't need to get out of second gear. And the feeling for me was if they'd wanted to, I think it could have been 5 or 6.
Yeah, it could have been quite easily. I think if they would have really kicked on, and don't get me started on the third goal. We'll get onto that in a little bit.
We'll get onto that with the slides at the end. Yeah. So don't worry, everybody. Okay. So the next one is obviously the XG shot map again. What are you seeing on this?
What I'm seeing is 10 shots. That's what I'm seeing, and literally nothing, and you've got to sort of make these chances count. We had a couple of decent, what you'd say fairly sort of big chances almost, but apart from that, it wasn't massive, was it? We didn't sort of create a great deal, but as you can see with Liverpool's, you've got literally 2 shots on the post there, you've got the goal obviously there and everything else, and the other goal hidden, from outside. So just, 17 shots and 2 goals from them without the own goal, obviously included in that. Just, what else can I say?
It's poor. And obviously a lot of people have said, oh, well, a lot of teams will lose at Anfield and they'll probably be top 4. Great. And Klopp was very complimentary about their performance. So if you get them on a good day, it could have been Man City they could have beaten. It could have been Real Madrid. But it still doesn't change the manner of our performance, and that's the thing I think.
It's like you said. It goes back to your point about European qualification. We're at a point now where, as fans, we're expecting to perform that little bit higher, especially away from home. Against these bigger sides. All right, Manchester City, you're not going to probably get a great deal, okay? And Liverpool have improved this year, but make a fist of it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because I think under Emery, if you look at some of the games you've played against big teams in inverted commas, in terms of recent history, great away victories at Tottenham, at Chelsea, great home win against Man United, a great home win against Newcastle, great home win against Brighton. So you look at those performances, even that Arsenal game, we were right in it. And if Bailey scores at the end, potentially we end up winning that game. Man City at home, Coutinho arguably could have had that goal, allowed, and it would have been a victory. So generally our performance level, that's been the most reassuring thing for me. I've said on this pod, it's making me look like a bit of an idiot and it's annoying me because I've said I don't fear anybody at all in this league other than Man City away. And yet we play Newcastle away and Liverpool away. And I think we're flattered by only conceding 8 goals.
Yeah, I can't argue with it, and I can't. That's why we do these shows. Is that we're not only is it sort of we've got to pass the eye test. We've got to be able to say what we see, and we've got to be able to back that up with data as analysts. Is what we do, and it doesn't lie, does it?
No. And look, and we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. No. We're all in Unai we trust. They'll get it right. But again, the concerns for me are, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of the defensive stuff in a minute, but if you lose a player of the influence of Mings, there's a big part of the chat Max and I had last night was, well, without Mings, we're really missing him. But do you replace Mings with a Clement Longley and a Pau Torres? I'm not sure you do. And if you're going to lose, obviously, if you know you're without Ramsey and Moreno for maybe 2 months, you potentially aren't going to replace them long term. I get that because obviously they'll be back soon. But if you look at both of our flanks at the moment, I think it's all well and good when you're playing the dog and duck, isn't it? Effectively. But when you're playing against these decent teams, it's not good. Listen, we'll jump into the last one of these before we go into our slides. So obviously this is the expected threat. So just obviously you can see quite clearly at the top there. Quite a surprise that Lucas Digne is number 2.
Yeah, I mean, what we will expect here is to see Trent at the top through passing only. He tops everything. So this is week in, week out, no matter who they play, pretty much. Trent always tops an expected threat from passes chart. So it's just what it is. But Lucas Digne, again, this is with the passes. So this includes also crosses as well, don't forget. And he did whip a few balls in, and his passing sort of was a little bit further down the flank. It was a little bit more incisive than everybody else. But everybody else, it's like from Douglas Luiz, we don't expect Leon Bailey to do much from that sort of, but Douglas Luiz, he's a playmaker in midfield. We expect a lot more from him.
Yeah, we do. Just quick point I've noticed. Our goalkeeper's on there ahead of our striker.
Yeah, it's just longer balls. It's just longer balls from Martinez into deeper areas, sort of into a fairly decent area, sort of out wide or in the half spaces. He gets a certain award, but don't get anything wrong with that. 0.04 is very
I know. But Watkins doesn't even feature, does it? So
no, because a lot of it is passes only, but you're still expecting the likes of Moussa Diaby and Douglas Luiz to still be ahead of Ollie Watkins in that area. That's where I think we need a little bit more from Diaby, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We'll dive into the slides now. So I'll just pop them on the screen. There we go. So the first one we've got here, again, fantastic analysis, Gareth, as always. I mean, we're going to go through some great stuff here. So, we'll appreciate the comments after the show. Let us know your thoughts. And if there's anything particularly as well that you do want Gareth maybe to look into a bit more detail, obviously he's mentioned looking at Watkins, anything else, obviously just let us know in the comments and we can obviously talk about bringing more shows to you. So we've got this Aston Villa, the higher in brackets initial press. So just talk us through that.
Yeah, this was in the first few seconds of the game. So I took this screenshot and I thought to myself, this looks good. Is this the way we're going to sort of follow the game through? Is this the way we're going to continue in the game? No, it wasn't. This was an initial sort of thing. We've got Trent on his right back slot because obviously the game's just kicked off. It is what it is. He's not yet moved into his midfield position. But this is where you want to sort of try and keep him. If you can do a high press when Liverpool have got the ball, usually he will still be in that right back position. He won't have come into midfield yet. So you've got the midfields, McAllister, and you've got Szoboszlai who've moved across. Diaby again, he's got to drop back there. He can see the play. He can see what's going to go on. The press is there. It's really good. The only thing missing is Diaby coming into that thing. You can't expect Cash to come into the middle there. So it's got to be Diaby.
So do you think based on, I think optics have been that because Bailey's been, obviously he scored a couple of goals against lesser teams, but because Bailey's not been performing really in terms of these big games, because Watkins hasn't been, and because Diaby has, unlike Bailey and Watkins where their touch is off and they feel like they're not holding the ball, because Diaby has maybe looked a bit silkier on the ball, do you think he's getting a bit of a free ride at the moment?
Yeah, in some aspects I guess you could kind of put it like that. I mean, it goes for me, I think his out of possession work is sort of a little bit better than obviously Leon's is. And I think that's why we deploy Cash on the right-hand side now ahead of Leon. I think because it's purely the fact that defensive work is a lot better. Offensively, he's not so good. So it's a kind of, sort of swings and roundabouts kind of thing, really. But for me, out of possession, it's got to be a little bit better, a bit almost organised. And this is the players on the field, by the way.
Yeah. Well, we'll dive into the next one. So this is the Villa set up in the low block.
Yeah, we're going to see another slide after this that's sort of like a little bit sort of the better way of doing things, if you like, in my opinion. And obviously we've got almost there the back five that we normally see. So we've got McGinn sort of out on that left-hand side, keeping an eye on, I can't think who it is out there. Is it Diaz? I can't think of, no, Diaz on this side. Salah, sorry, on the right-hand side. This is what you're trying to sort of get at here. But again, this is why I've highlighted it. Diaby. Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz doesn't need to be sitting there. Kamara prefers to be in between the right back and the right centre back. That's what he tends to do. But again, over on this, you've got 3 against 2 there. Somebody can drop off back into midfield. Luiz can give someone a shout. Douglas Luiz does not need to be sitting there. He doesn't. If he's going to do that, then he's got to pull Diaby in front of him. Now, that's not a bad setup defensively. It's just organisation and a little bit of communication is off there for me.
And why is no one seemingly on Trent AlexanderArnold? It felt a little bit like...
This is my point. This is why you've got to have someone like Watkins, to me, almost against Liverpool, seemed quite disinterested. I don't know what it was with him. That's the feeling I sort of got. And I'm not slagging, I guess I am in a way, but it was defensively. You know what Trent's going to do. You know Trent's going to sit in the middle of the park. So somebody's got to take responsibility, whether you're in a low block or you're higher up the pitch. That then transcends different people, different players in different positions of the pitch. But for me, Watkins is just standing there. Diaby, you've got to sort of come in there because there's no threat out wide yet. We're defensively sound. Someone's got to sit there.
Yeah, well, look, for me, it's the equivalent of walking around, I don't know, Covent Garden with your wallet hanging out your pocket. With you were letting Trent Alexander-Arnold do whatever he wants. He's been really, really maligned in the last year or so because of obviously his defensive work. We didn't really give him. I mean, obviously, I know he's playing a bit further forward, but that the one thing he wants to do is be able to quarterback it and spray passes around. And I mean, it was painful, the commentary I had Stephen Warnock on the link I was listening to, but he was fairly waxing lyrical about Trent. And the point you make around Watkins is, Rich and I have talked on pods in the past how Watkins always seemed to be pretty up for it, and I think Van Dijk has had some struggles with Watkins in the past, but yeah, he just didn't seem at it. And if you look at it, a situation there, like you point out, there's people in positions that they don't need to be in. Which can you give any reason to that?
No, well, only for the reasons that I've really outlined. I mean, Cash to me, yes, he can go with Szoboszlai there, but yet Kamara's behind him. You've almost got sort of, including Carlos, Konsa, Cash, and Kamara. You've almost got 4 players on 2 there. Why? What for? Cash can push up onto Robertson to stop that pass, for example. If Kamara wants to follow Szoboszlai into that run that Diaz is going to play him into, go. That's fine. But then stop the pass. Who's stopping that pass from Robertson? It's too easy.
Yeah, and is that? Do you think that's communication on the pitch? On the pitch,
yes,
someone saying, "Come on, you cover him or get out to there."
Yes, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. The next one we've got Aston Villa, better. So just to talk through this.
Yeah, so McGinn's come in field. This is a better shape because you don't need to have that back 5. So that back 5, you've got one man shot. So that allows someone to come out into wide areas. Look at the slide I said before. What did I say? Cash could press Robertson. This is what we're seeing. I know that's not Robertson now. I don't think that's can't see who that is. Anyway, but they're pressing the player in that left wing back, that position. This is a correct shape. If you're going to play a 4-4-2, play a 4-4-2. Don't then change it. And don't forget, we're no different here, are we? We're no different in where we are on the pitch or anything like that. So why have we gone to a 4-4-2? It's fine. This is a better shape. You've got Trent being sort of marked there. Watkins has finally picked him up. Diaby can come across and cover into the middle there, or he can come and cover Robertson out on this left-hand side here. It's a better shape. Kamara's not chasing at lost ends, and you've got 2v2 in wide areas. Perfect.
So do you think this is just the players not implementing what Emery's asked them to do, added to the fact that Liverpool are a really good team and therefore it's hard to play against them?
Yeah, it's a bit of both, isn't it? But I mean, you're playing against a 4-3-3 and you're set up in a 4-4-2. There shouldn't be any issues like that, really, no matter how good they are. But I mean, to a certain extent, yeah, I mean, they carried it out. It looked okay, but I think it's just a case of sort of a little bit of communication and basic communication, really.
Yeah. So the next one we've got is one or the other.
What are you doing? Is it a high line? If it's a high line, you've got to press high. Now, what we'll do is we'll just let any Liverpool midfielder have it in the centre of the park. You can't do that. Look how many, and we're going to see it again in a minute, but balls over the top. They're on every time. Look, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 Liverpool players across that front defensive line that are going to be in there. Any position, they can play that pass. If that's Trent on the ball, that ball, which it is, that is going to go anywhere. You can't do that. You've got to press from the front. Look at Watkins again. We're just standing about.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, Bailey doesn't need to be there either, does he?
No, and don't get me wrong. This will be highlighted. I guarantee. 100% in the analysis room. This will be picked up on. It's too static. If you want out of position, it's far too static.
Yeah. It's really stark when you see that because you've obviously got you've got obviously Salah. You've got Diaz, you've got Jones, you've got Szoboszlai. They're all there, aren't they? Aren't they waiting to go?
Yeah, and this is after the Carlos substitution. So Cash is now at right back, but be that as it may, you've got to press from the front. It's all very well having, and we're going to see it here. Perfect example. Look at that defensive line. That is almost perfect. The only thing I'd go about here is that Powell stepped out for no apparent reason. Yeah. I don't know why he did that. I think this is one of the, but he's got no need to step out. However, all right, the defensive line, you bang on the halfway line, nailed it. And this will be given offside, which I think it was at the time. I'm just giving it as an example. No pressure from the front. Look at, you've got 1, 2, 3, say 4 Liverpool midfielders there who could be on the ball. I think that's Trent of the deepest of the two. It's just so simple. It's just so basic stuff.
But it's also very dangerous because really the two Liverpool players there are just inside our half. So if they were to just stay around the halfway line, then they'd quite easily break that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, exactly. And what we've seen here is I can't think who the players. I think it's Nunes who sort of received the ball and he's on a give and go. We can see him just starting to sprint. He's the one just in front of Powell. Yeah. So he's beaten Powell to the ball. He's played a 1-2, and now that ball's going to go in over the top. If you're going to go in there, win the ball. But you can't do that if you've got a high line. So you've got to be. It's just got to be better organised. I've been saying it for weeks. We're not suited to it, and of all the things, I got slated on Twitter for it. Don't play the high line at Liverpool. Just drop off. You can't do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that's the one thing I think also potentially is a criticism of Unai. I've done it a few times on this pod, but is that obviously tactics need to be suitable, don't they? And he felt like when we played a Tottenham, a Chelsea last season, even like the away wins at Southampton and Everton, it felt like a different tactic away from home than it did against Newcastle and Liverpool.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know any better than, of course I don't. I'm not saying, we're just giving our perspective and our thing, but it was sort of so apparent for all to see. And it was like, if you do that against Diaz, Salah and Nunes, you're in big trouble. It was surely it was common sense, but.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the set piece defending, basic set piece defending here.
I've ranted and raved enough, but this one really got my goat. This was just awful. You've got a second runner off of the ball. There's no blocking going on here. There's not going to be anything. So Nunes has come literally across from where Matip is stood there. So there was the two stood together. There was no blocking went on. He just literally come around the back, simple run, and he's going to flick that ball onto the near post. Luca Digne is on Mo Salah. He can see him. Let's go to the next slide.
Yeah, I mean, this is painful because we obviously know what's going to happen here. Really, really painful. So here we are. This is the last one coming up now. So here we go. A ball watching Digne.
And he's in front of him.
Yeah.
This is criminal. Absolutely criminal. Austin McPhee must be turning. He will literally, his stomach must have turned when he's seen this back on the video on the coach on the way home. It's such basic, the old simple 1-2. No problem. No problem at all. And it's basic stuff.
It really, I mean, this is the tactic I use against my lad on FIFA sometimes. He's got all the skills and the tricks, but I'll flick a corner on and I'll be like, I might bamboozle him.
I actually kept the video of the game on the thing, and I've actually slow-moed and rewound Digne's face on different phases of the thing. When the ball is in flight, he's literally just looking up at the ball. He's got no idea where Salah is until this point here, and it's too late. You watch it back yourselves, you'll see it. He's literally no idea where he is until it's too late. It's just criminal.
And the thing I think is interesting about this whole topic is you play really well against Hibernia and you beat Everton, and all of a sudden it is, hey, let's give Bailey a bit of credit and we don't want to lose Digne. And Digne's good, I think. Like Pau Torres, the same, I think, against teams. We're a bit of a flat track bully now, aren't we? And when we've got possession and when we set up correctly, those players can be effective. But we know Digne's weaknesses are defensively. We know he's not been great defensive.
Listen, it happens. You're going to lose players at set pieces. This is what it is. This is Mo Salah. You're talking about one of the most lethal, if not the most lethal sort of player in that position. He shouldn't be getting tap-ins at the back stick. That's just not on. And I think, to be honest, it's one of them things where we're really organised, but we get a little bit sort of, once we go behind almost, we're a little bit flustered almost, and then it takes us a little while and I think we really rely on the Villa Park faithful, if I'm honest. I think we've got to start getting results away from home, and it's tricky because we're only a few games in. We don't want to rock the boat, do we? We've only been, but this is our job to be critical almost.
Well, it absolutely is, but then you look at, our home form is really good. It is. We can't argue with that. We've been very, very good under Unai. The record in terms of, I think we've won way more games than I think we probably would thought we would have won at Villa Park. We obviously had a good away run as well, didn't we? There was that spell when Watkins was scoring in every away game. We were picking up loads of points.
Yeah.
But you look at our upcoming league games. Palace at home. They just had a good win. We'd expect to win that. Then you've got Chelsea away. Will they be as bad as they were against Forest? Then you've got Brighton at home. They're no gimme. And then you've got Wolves away. We never do well at Wolves away. And then you've got West Ham, who are in really good form. So there's a situation there where the next 5 games, I mean, you'd expect to win your home games, and you'd like to think you've got a good chance of getting a result at Chelsea and Wolves because of how they've started the season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you'll get a result anywhere if you play like we did on Sunday. To be honest, I think I repeated it on my Twitter feed that it was passive was the word I used, both with the ball and without it. So reluctant to go forward, but yet sort of so reluctant to press or anything else. I've always said at team places like Man City, and Liverpool, you're a bit all or nothing. You're either going to win, get a freak result, or you're going to get battered 4-0. And what would you rather? You've just got to go for it. And Villa, with the confidence that we saw, you honestly thought we were going to see a better performance than that. And it was almost quite shocking in a way, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I think what I put in my tweet afterwards, or maybe the next morning, was just a lack of intensity. That's the thing. You know, if we go to Liverpool and we lose 3-0 or 3-2, but actually, you know, we've been peppering the goal with shots. You know, you feel like you've been really hard done by. You come out of that game thinking, hey, you know what, like it could have gone differently the way. You don't mind so much. You think you're in it. But it's not just the fact you lost heavily. He said it could have been way worse, and that's the worrying thing. Yeah. The other thing I'd say as well is obviously we haven't talked about it here because I don't think it really affected the result in the end. But obviously, I mean, I don't think it should have been a goal, the first goal, and potentially, you know, Carlos going off. That, you know, I think he clearly was interfering with play, and it should have been offside. And then obviously, you know,
yeah, sorry. I mean, I was going to do a slide on that in the first instance, but I just thought I think people have seen it enough. It's clearly offside. We've had the same thing with the Aki incident as well, you know, and it's too obvious, isn't it? But
yeah, I don't think it would affect the result, would it?
I don't think so.
No. Gareth, really appreciate it as always. Fantastic analysis. Lots and lots for Unai to work on, and I'm sure he'll be watching back on this video as well as all the stuff the club do. Again, quick reminder, everyone, if you haven't given this video a like, please give it a like, share it with everyone that you know. We're trying to increase our following, get beyond 2,300 and something subscribers now to the next milestone, 2,500. And as always, through thick and thin, remember.
And running